Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about five things you need to know if you're starting beekeeping or you're thinking about starting beekeeping. Let's get started. So oftentimes when people find out that I'm a beekeeper, they themselves have questions about maybe becoming a beekeeper themselves. So I wanted to put together a video of 5 things that I think that you should know if you're interested in becoming a beekeeper, or you maybe have just started beekeeping. Okay, so let's get started and let's get number 1. So first of all, let me say these are in no particular order as far as importance goes. I just wanted to list 5 things that I think are very, very important. Of course, there are more things, but these are the 5 that I came up with. So the first thing that I have for you at number 1 would be prepare to study. There's a lot to know about beekeeping. I think that you could beekeep for 50 years and there's still going to be things that you learn every single day. But it's very important to study. Now, studying comes in obviously lots of different forms. My 2 favorites were YouTube and books. I have lots of different suggestions for books. I'll link those in the description below. But Beekeeping for Dummies, there's local authors here in Southeast Missouri. Grant Gillard has a book out, multiple books out actually that are very good. But many professors and doctors that actually keep bees have books. And then there's just regular folks that have books out about beekeeping that are also very good. If you read 15 different books, you may get 15 different opinions, but it's still very, very important to study enough to know the lingo about beekeeping, understand the basics of beekeeping, what makes up a hive, what kind of bees are in a hive. Of course, we got the worker bee, the drone, and the queen. So you need to know all of those things, and the way that you learn those things is by studying. So be prepared to get your study on. So number 2 on the list of things that I think are very, very important and things that you should do if you're thinking about beekeeping or if you've just started beekeeping is join a local bee club. This is very, very important for lots of different reasons. One of the most important reasons is it locks you in with your local community of beekeepers. I am very fortunate to have a super, super awesome bee club in my area. And it's a great camaraderie. Get to talk with other beekeepers. You'll find out that you don't have to be a beekeeper very, very long, and you wear out everybody around you that you usually talk to and hang out with about bees. They're tired of hearing about bees. But at a bee club, they have the same problem, most likely, and the people around them are tired of talking about bees. So it's cool that you can talk to somebody about bees the entire time you're there, and hear about bees, and nobody gets tired of hearing about it because that's why they're there. So it's very, very awesome. But there's a wealth of knowledge and information, multiple different skill levels, and you know, you might walk there, you go there one time and there's a bunch of people that talk about things you've never even thought of or heard of, and then the next week or the next month you go, depending on how frequently you have these meetings, and you understand everything they talk about. So it's very, very important to get ingrained in your local community of beekeepers. They can also talk about things that are pertaining to your area, most specifically, and that way you make sure you're doing the things that you need to be doing the times you need to be doing them. You can always ask questions at these meetings for the most part. Again, I'm very lucky that my club is awesome and they love questions, and everybody's very, very helpful. Hopefully you can find one too, because that's number 2 on the list of the 5 things you need to do if you're thinking about starting beekeeping. Okay, number 3 on my list, find a mentor. A great place to start to find a mentor is at your local bee club. So another reason why it's so important to find a local bee club and attend those meetings regularly. But number 3, find a mentor. So again, you can find one at your local bee club. It's more local that way. It's very helpful to be able to go out to a hive, have them maybe go to your hive, inspect together, and that way you can kind of have hands-on training, so to speak. But not everybody has the flexibility to be able to do that with you. Beekeepers that have been doing it for a long time have a system, and they're very, very busy. A lot of beekeepers actually do it on the side, so they're trying to get to their hives whenever they have free time, and it's very difficult to connect. So finding somebody that lets you go to their hive, or you can come to their hive, is very difficult to do. But if you can do that, great. It's a great plus. But if you don't have any local beekeepers in your area to become a mentor with, that's okay. Facebook is a wonderful tool to use for beekeepers. There's lots of great groups out there, places that you can go to seek knowledge. Obviously, not all knowledge on the internet is accurate. We know that and accept that. That's why studying is so important, so you can start to determine what is correct and what is not correct. But on Facebook, there are mentor groups that you can get a part of, and a mentor is there assigned to you, and you can ask them questions and things of that nature. So getting a mentor is very, very important. I have a couple mentors, and I can tell you that in a pinch, I don't know what to do, and I can message them, and they can really, really help me out. And it's a huge, huge factor in your success as a beekeeper, being able to ask those questions, because quite frankly, you're just not going to know the answer to them until you experience it. So get yourself a mentor. All right, number 4 on the list is take a beginner's beekeeping class. Now, this is not something that you necessarily have to do. Many successful beekeepers were able to become successful without taking this class. But I feel like part of the study process and getting your study on is taking a beekeeping class or a beekeeper's course. I was able to do this. It was very, very helpful. I studied before I went, so I kind of knew what they were talking about a little bit. But again, it gave me a great place to go and ask questions, see somebody teach the class that knew what they were talking about a little bit. But taking a beginner beekeeper's class is, to me, an important step in helping you get started on the right foot. Now, again, you know, the age that we live in today, you don't have to go to a career center or a place like that to take the class. You could take beekeeping classes online. So it's important, I feel like, to do as much preparation and study as you can before you get started in beekeeping. That way, when you get started, you have an idea of what's going on. Now, you're still going to be learning. I feel like I learn every single time I go to a hive. So you're going to be continuing to learn. But it's important to know some of the things, again, so that you have that confidence a little bit of what you're doing. All right, so number 5 on the list is beekeeping is pricey. So I wouldn't call it necessarily expensive, but it's definitely not cheap. So just like everything, there are prices to be paid to be a beekeeper. So it's something that you really need to look into, think about, do some pricing, look around at different places. But it's important to know that beekeeping does obviously cost money, but it is kind of pricey. One of the things that I did was I waited a year. So patience can be very, very important in beekeeping. But I try to be patient. I waited a year. I saved up for that year, did a lot of studying. That way I didn't have to spend all my money all at one time, which again is an expensive thing to do. I was able to buy things as I went through that year instead of one big purchase, and that was helpful. So there are several different things that you can do. And I'm sure I'll probably make a video on that later. I know I do have a blog about it on my Russell Bees website. It's called Budget Beekeeping, and things that you can do to save some money there. But yeah, it's important to know beekeeping to start is expensive. It's also can be expensive to maintain the hobby as well. But it's certainly something that you need to, again, understand, realize, and be informed about before you jump into beekeeping. It's certainly something that I would hope wouldn't keep you from being a beekeeper, but it's very, very important to understand that beekeeping does cost some money, especially up front, and it's something that you have to be ready for and prepare yourself. All right, guys, so there it is. There's the list. Those are the 5 things that I think you should know before getting into beekeeping. So let's recap that list real quick. Number 1, get your study on. You need to have a lot of studying. need to be ready to put in the time and learn the craft of beekeeping, hopefully before you get into it, but especially if you are passionate about it and it's something that you want to do. Number 2, join a bee club. A local bee club is a wealth of knowledge, super great place to go and learn and interact with other beekeepers. Number 3, find yourself a mentor. Okay, find a person that is helpful and informative, and they would like to take the time to help you. Hopefully they're not bothered by questions, because you're going to have a lot of them. So find yourself a great mentor. Number 4, take a beginner's beekeeping class. Again, it helps you study, get experience, and learn as much as you possibly can. And then number 5, you need to understand that it's going to be pricey, especially to start. Beekeeping is not something that it's cheap to jump into, so make sure that you are prepared for that. If you need to save up to do it, do that. I certainly had to do that, but just understand that it's a little bit pricey. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to have more videos, obviously, coming out. Beekeeping, sheep, lots of fun stuff going on. But again, I hope you enjoyed the video. Appreciate you watching. Have a great day, and God bless.